About the scrimmage, you had the varsity, and then you had a one for the freshmen today.
Yeah, we split it up. I don't think it was fair to the freshmen to have them out there against the veterans. We did pull a few of our a few of our rookie players up with the veterans for the start of the scrimmage. A couple quarterbacks, a tight end, a linebacker. So there were some guys that have shown us enough that we felt like we wanted to see some reps out of them with the older guys. But really, it was a chance for those young guys to run things that were a little more simplified, give them a chance to just see if they could block and play blocks, tackle, take care of the ball. And we got a lot of work to do with that group, obviously. They've been in camp for a week and a half. So the veterans is another story. Just mistakes, missed tackles, drop passes, just not effective enough sustaining blocks. It's all fundamentally related. Just we got to get a lot better at the fundamentals if we're going to be good at this game. I thought the defense really outshined the offense today in terms of the performance and execution. There were a lot of 3 and outs, and that was a good job by the defense. Far too many negative yardage plays for the offense. So there's a lot of things we got to fix. We didn't have any other special teams besides the PAT field goal. It'd be good to get a look at that live next week.
Coach, the defense you had Max Domenico and Eric Ford had a couple of big plays.
Oh, they did. They had some good plays. Eric had a nice batted pass on a rush. Max continues to impress me. He's just a really good football player. And if you put him in a track meet, he wouldn't come in first. And if you had to, stand him next to a bunch of other guys, he'd be one of the shorter guys. But he is just tough and rugged and plays the game really hard. And so he had a good scrimmage. I'm glad he's on our team.
Coach, in regards to the quarterback situation, Alex Meredith wasn't out there. Can you talk about his status, but also the progression of Coleman, Robinson, and the other young guys?
So unfortunately, Alex got hurt in practice the other day, and he's going to be out for the season. Great kid. He was battling really with a chance to be the starter. So we're disappointed to see him go, but he's already had a procedure, and we're getting him healthy and getting him ready to be commissioned as an Army officer. As for the other guys, that's an inexperienced group. Even Daly, who's our most experienced guy, has just a handful of reps playing in games. So there's a lot he needs to learn, things he needs to get better at, not forcing things, and he will. The more he practices, the better he'll get. And then Coleman had a really good spring, and he's had a good camp. Today, I didn't think those guys made all the right decisions. Not that I expected them to after 11 days in camp, but we got to do better, and the game's only 3 weeks away. So those 2 guys are still at the top. They're veteran players. They've been through spring ball. But I'm impressed by a couple of our young guys. And Champ Harris and Larry Robinson both have had good camps. They got a long way to go from a mental standpoint and the fundamentals, but I think they can get there. And one of those guys is going to be a guy that's going to be the 3, and you know how close that is to going into a game when you're playing with us. So we got to get him ready in a hurry.
Thanks, man.
Still just the first scrimmage. How is that adjustment to this new offensive scheme?
Well, obvious. You watched it. There's a lot of adjustment that needs to be made. We got to do better. We got to be able to hammer the ball in on the goal line when we get down there. Far too many negative yardage plays, not just sacks, but just the run plays going backwards, and that's a recipe for disaster. So we pride ourselves on being an offense and a program where we have fewer negative yardage plays than everybody in the country. If we're in the pack or at the back end, it's going to be a long year for us. So we got to improve that.
Coach, watching Casey Larkin today, he was in the middle of a couple of plays too. Talking about his development, how he's moved up to almost with that first line on defense.
Casey's improved so much. Really, maybe from the spring or through the spring, the start of spring ball to now, one of the most improved guys that's in that class, in the sophomore class. He's got himself in the mix. He's certainly going to be a big piece of special teams, and I think he's battling the guys that are at the top of the depth chart right now, which is encouraging. It's good for our team. It's good, healthy competition, and again, that's another guy that I think is just a good football player.
That run by Dwayne early in the scrimmage where he hit the linebacker and scored. That's toughness. That's Army tough right there, wasn't it? I mean, that show you really something with him, or is that his?
Yeah. No, in terms of that, Sal, our philosophy hasn't changed. We want to be a tough, run the football, rugged football team, and certainly have that personality on offense. And so that's a good hard run. There's some other guys, some young guys. Kanye Udo had some good runs. That Jake Rendina really impressed me. He gets his shoulders square and he runs the ball really, really hard. I thought Jarrell Dixon had some good runs today, and Buchanan, Riley, Miles, Stewart. I think all those guys have a chance to be productive as running backs for us. But we got to be tough and rugged up front and knock people off the ball if we're going to create those seams. And today there's just too many times where our backs were getting hit before they ever got to the line of scrimmage, and that's an improvement for the whole offense. It's got to be made.
Your roster features players from basically all over, from all over. There are some players from the New York area, including Lucas Scott, who's from the Forest area. What's it like to kind of have that New York, some local state kids on that roster?
Oh, I love having the local guys. I mean, Tyler Rafferty's from right over the hill here, grew up in Newburgh. Josh Baskerville grew up at West Point, played here at Don Bosco locally. Isaiah Alston, I mean, he's a terrific football player, and he's from right here in New Jersey. And so, I mean, there's a bunch of those guys on our team. The New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, those are well-represented states on our roster. And in our entire program, there's 39 different states represented in our program. So that's why we call ourselves America's team, and I think we have the right to do that. I mean, you got guys from all over the place like that. So, but it's great to have guys from right here, and I know the rest of the players from lots of different places like having local guys, because on the weekends when they're free, they can go to the house and get a home-cooked meal from a team mom. So that works out pretty good.
How would you describe New York high school football?
Very, very competitive, blue-collar, tough, rugged football. But I think that's the state of New York. That's the personality of New York. You think of New Yorkers, you think of tough, and that's what we get. We get tough guys. Jordan Owens is a freshman from New York. He's out here running the ball today. I thought he did some good things. They kind of epitomize what this is. Lucas Scott, Binghamton, those are tough guys.
Coach had a couple of receivers make plays today. Noah Short had a couple of catches. Neo Voss, A.J. Marshall, Taylor Salisbury had a catch from Dwayne Coleman. How do you feel about the receivers this year in the new offense?
I'm excited about that group. Obviously, we're playing with a lot more of them, and we're tossing the ball out there to them more often than we ever have. But there's some, I mentioned Isaiah, Noah Short, Ijon Marshall, Casey Reynolds, that's another New York guy from Long Island. There's a bunch of guys that I think are very capable receivers, and some young guys. So we got some freshmen that I think are going to find their way into the mix as well. I think it's a good group.
Coach, you had 4 field goals, I thought, you made today. Cole Talley had a 28-yarder, and Quinn Moretzky had that 41-yarder. How do you feel? Is there a competition between those two players?
There's a competition for sure. We finished the year with Quinn Moretzky kicking field goals and Cole Talley kicking off. We're kind of there right now, but there's competition certainly for the field goals PAT spot with Talley. He's got a strong leg, and he's made some big field goals for us in his career. So that's good. That's healthy for that position.
A couple more. Jeff, you mentioned Casey Larkin earlier. Who are some of the players who have kind of stood out in these first 10, 11 days? Or, either stood out or have come up maybe surprising?
So Casey's a guy for certain. I think just guys that have maybe surprised or stepped out of the pack. Miles Stewart in this system, he just is so much more productive. Through spring ball, we could see that. Through fall camp, we could see that. And I'm happy for him. He's a good football player. He just looks like a different football player running the ball from the shotgun where he is, and so I'm excited about him. Let me just run the depth chart through my brain, because I want to be fair to our guys and think about that. Matthew Adoge. So Matthew's a guy that spent 2 years on the scout team. He's a really big guy, and his size, this offense really fits him. He's an athletic guy for 320 plus. I mean, he's a big human being. and he's really done some good things. He found himself kind of slugging away for a starting position at the right guard. He's still in that mix, so that's a guy that I think deserves some credit. Shane Buckingham on the offensive line. That's a high school quarterback that we recruited as a tight end, and now he's a 300-pound offensive tackle. So that's been great to see. Jimmy Charlo, though he played a lot of football for us last year as a starter, it's been amazing to see his transformation. There's a Jersey guy, Ringwood, New Jersey. From his freshman year to where he is now, the leader he is, the confidence he plays with, I think that really has been enjoyable to watch. Cole McCutcheon, our long snapper, he spent his career as a backup, and now it's his job. He's performing really well. So, I mean, that's just kind of a few guys. There's a lot more, but those are a few guys that have stood out.